Shalom, my brothers and sisters. I pray that wherever you are, in whatever situation, you are hoping and trusting in God. Now, it's not possible to start any work of God without acknowledging and identifying the supremacy of one true God, the maker of heaven and earth, the all-knowing, the almighty, the all-powerful, the all-seeing, the ever-present, the one who is and the one who will be, the true living God. May God open our minds to understand the scriptures. May you open our hearts to receive it. In this our very first series, we talk about the name of God, the power in the name of God, and of course the power in the name of His Son, Jesus Christ. The name of God is the holiest and the most sacred name on earth, in heaven, below earth, everywhere. The second holiest name is that of His Son, Jesus Christ. And we want to learn that. We thank God for Moses, because it's through Moses that God revealed the holiest name, the most sacred name, the most righteous name on earth, above earth, that transcended man. Before that, the fathers of faith, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, referred to God with a different name, El Shaddai. So Moses is here, he comes to the burning bush, is confronted with the fact and confounded by the fact that he has met God, and he is really now caught between a rock and a hard place, because he really doesn't know how to explain to the children of Israel who is this God that he has met. And he doesn't actually know who he's actually met, the real name that he can describe him with. At this particular time of human history, people used to worship different gods, and they were not accustomed to having one God, one singular supreme God. So Moses was caught between a hard place to explain to the people of Israel which God is this that he has met and has sent him. So he asked God, who do I tell these people has sent me to them?
Suppose I go to the Israelites and say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you. And they ask me, what is his name? Then what shall I tell them? God said to Moses, I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you. God also said to Moses, say to the Israelites, the Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever, the name you shall call me from generation to generation.
It is at this bush that Moses encounters God. And as you read in the Bible, an encounter with God is an extraordinary situation that calls for complete submission, that calls for fear. So Moses is here and is now caught between a rock and a hard place. A rock and a hard place because here is a God that he doesn't know his name, and waiting for him ahead are children of Israel that don't know his name. Because at this point we must realize that the children of Israel never used the name that Moses was given. So they would refer to God as El Shaddai. That were the fathers of faith, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They would refer to God as El Shaddai. And you remember also the children of Israel at the other point, they were exposed to different sort of gods, from Egyptians' god like Isis, like Ra. So Moses is caught now between a hard place. Who do I tell my people this God is? Could it be an Egyptian god? Of course, Moses knows is the God of their forefathers, that is El Shaddai, but he needs to have a description and a title for this person that he's met. So God gives Moses the name,
I am who I am.
This name The Tetragrammaton, Yahweh, Jehovah, was so sacred, so holy, that when the writers of Torah, the Pentateuch, the books of law, that is the Genesis, Deuteronomy, Numbers, and Leviticus, when they were writing the name Yahweh, the four consonants that make the name Yahweh in Hebrew, they will use 4 different scribes to write that name. And remember, those scribes had to be ritually cleaned to write that name for the fear that they might die. So that name, when someone was writing Y, you would have to be a different person writing H, a different person writing W, a different person writing the next H. That's how holy it was.
God said to Moses, I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you.
So when the Jews come across this name, whether when they are reading Torah or wherever they come across it, they don't pronounce it, because this is a so sacred name that is not supposed to be pronounced by sinful people. So they will use an alternative name, which is Adonai or Elohim. So they get that name that we call Yahweh in their Torah. They look at it and they pronounce it as Adonai.
I am who I am.
That if someone wrote the old name in full, then there were grave consequences. That name was so sacred that even today, Hebrews never pronounce that name in full when they encounter it while reading the Torah. So when they encounter the name Yahweh, they will use an alternative name, that is Adonai or Elohim, because that name is so sacred that they don't use it in common parlance. That's not a name you use in normal conversation. Like for instance, when you trip, the way we do, or for instance, when you encounter something. It's a name that was so special, and it's still very sacred to the custodian of the Torah, that's the children of Israel.
God said to Moses, I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you.
This name that Moses was given was so powerful, so critical, so important, that God himself says, I'll choose a place myself for that name to dwell in. Very interesting. He just wants that name to dwell somewhere. And there is a description himself. He describes that place that he wants that place to be. That place has to be sacred. It has to be holy. It has to be built in a certain way. And it was not to be violated at any given time.
But unto the place which the Lord your God shall choose out of all your tribes to put his name there, even unto his habitation shall ye seek, and thither thou shalt come. That thou shalt take of the first of all the fruit of the earth, which thou shalt bring of thy land, that the Lord thy God giveth thee, and shalt put it in a basket, and shalt go unto the place which the Lord thy God shall choose to place his name there.
As we've read in those scriptures, this place was a place that the children of Israel were to call upon for worship, for sacrifice. This is a place they were to call upon for protection. And nothing would have ever happened to the children of Israel if this name was in their presence, if this name was among them. It was a very special name. So once that name is there, nothing. It was a fortified rock. Nothing would shake it. It was unshakable. It had authority, it had power. And so the children of Israel treated that name with exemptional caution, with exemptional holiness.
For the glory of the Lord had filled the house of the Lord. Then spake Solomon,
The Lord said that he would dwell in the thick darkness. I have surely built thee an house to dwell in, a settled place for thee to abide in forever.
So we see in those scriptures that God wanted a place for his name to dwell. And then he prescribes that place. It was going to be sacred, it was going to be righteous, it was going to be holy. And as long as that was not violated, then the people would abound in blessings, they would abound in security, they would abound in peace, as long as they kept that covenant. We'll see further in the scriptures that God promised David that is through him that he will establish his name.
In the next episode we see the nexus between the name and the Son's name.